In 2008, a guy with zero connections on Wall Street put $200,000 against the entire US housing market. Every single person around him said he was insane. 12 months later, he had over $100 million. His name was Michael Burry, and here's the thing, he wasn't smarter than everyone else. He just knew something most people never figure out in their entire lives. I'm about to break down 5 skills that separate people who stay broke from people who get rich, and none of them are save more or work harder. These are the skills nobody teaches you in school, in college, or in your 9-to-5 job, because honestly, the system isn't built to make you wealthy. It's built to keep you comfortable enough to keep showing up. Stick around until the end, because skill number 5 is the one that ties everything together, and it's the one almost nobody talks about. Before we dive in, hit subscribe right now, because I drop content like this every single week. And trust me, you don't want to miss the next one. Let's get into it. Skill 1, hunting for asymmetry. Most people chase stability, a steady paycheck, a safe savings account, a predictable 3% return. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Real wealth is almost never built on stability. It's built on asymmetry. Asymmetry means this. You risk $1 to potentially make 10, 50, or 100. Your downside is capped. Your upside isn't. That's exactly what Michael Burry understood. He wasn't gambling. He was identifying a situation where the worst case loss was small and the best case win was massive. This isn't about reckless bets. It's a trainable skill, the ability to spot situations where risk and reward are completely out of balance in your favor. And those situations are almost never where everyone else is looking. They're hiding in plain sight, in the places everyone else considers boring or too risky to bother with. Skill 2, boring monopolies. While investors in San Francisco were arguing about which startup would be the next unicorn, one quiet guy from Omaha, Nebraska was buying up laundromats, car washes, and brick manufacturing companies. Warren Buffett called these businesses boring to the point of being painful. And that's exactly why they made money for decades, while flashy tech companies burned out one after another. The secret isn't finding the next Tesla. The secret is finding a business so unglamorous that nobody wants to compete with it. Vending machines, self-storage units, local service companies in small towns across America that nobody on Instagram would ever post about. Rich people don't chase admiration. They chase predictable cash flow in places where competition is almost non-existent, precisely because nobody finds it interesting enough to bother. Skill 3, stacking mediocrity. The creator of the comic strip, Dilbert, Scott Adams, once admitted something surprising. He was never the best artist, never the best comedy writer, never the sharpest business mind, and yet he became a millionaire because he found a rare combination of 3 above-average skills stacked together. Here's the trap almost everyone falls into. People spend years trying to become the absolute best at one single thing. The best lawyer, the best doctor, the best programmer. That's a path straight to the top of a pyramid where competition is brutal and there's barely any room at the summit. But there's another path. If you push your public speaking to above average, add basic sales skills on top of that, and throw in a working understanding of finance, you automatically land in a category that less than 1% of people occupy. Not because any single skill is rare on its own, but because that exact combination almost never shows up in one person. In the US, this plays out everywhere. Consulting, personal branding, small business. A doctor who also understands marketing and knows how to build a following online earns multiples of what a doctor who's just a good doctor earns. A lawyer who actually understands startup technology is worth 3 times more on the job market than a generalist. Stop trying to be the best at one thing. Become good enough at 2 or 3 things that rarely live inside the same person. That combination, not any single talent, is what turns into an executive level paycheck, even if each individual skill only rates a 7 out of 10. Skill 4, the value trap. There's an old joke in Silicon Valley. The engineer who wrote the code for an app makes $150,000 a year. The founder who sold that same app to investors walks away with $150 million. Both of them created the exact same value. They just captured it in completely different ways. This might be the most underrated skill in the entire conversation about wealth, the ability to capture value, not just create it. School teaches us to create, write good reports, do quality work, solve problems. Nobody teaches the second, equally critical step, how to make sure a piece of the value you create actually stays with you, instead of flowing entirely to your employer, your platform, or your business partner. Take a real American example. An employee at Amazon comes up with an idea that saves the company $10 million a year. His bonus? Maybe $5,000. The company just captured 99.95% of the value he created. Not because the idea was bad, but because he never built a structure that tied his contribution to a percentage of the outcome instead of a fixed salary. People who become wealthy ask themselves one question early, before they ever start a project: if this works, who actually gets the money? And if the answer isn't me, they restructure the deal before they lift a finger. They ask for equity instead of a bonus, royalties instead of a one-time payment, a stake in the outcome instead of a raise. That's not greed, that's basic literacy in how money actually moves. The painful lesson here is that hard work alone guarantees nothing. Millions of Americans grind 60-hour weeks and stay broke because every ounce of value they create legally belongs to someone else by contract. The skill isn't working harder. The skill is negotiating ownership before the work even begins. Skill 5, time arbitrage. And the final skill, maybe the quietest one of all, is the one that actually separates six-figure earners from people sitting on tens of millions. We all get the same 24 hours. Wealth doesn't start when you work more hours. It starts the moment you begin buying other people's time, or technology's time, and selling the result of that time for more than it cost you. A construction company owner doesn't get rich by swinging a hammer himself. He gets rich the day he hires 10 people to swing hammers for $30 an hour each, while he sells the finished building for a price that covers all 10 of them and leaves a fat margin on top. He didn't work 10 times harder. He just stopped selling his own hours and started selling other people's. In 2026, this works harder than ever, thanks to automation and AI. One person today can run a system that used to require an entire team of 10. A single founder with the right AI tools can now handle customer support, content creation, and basic analytics that would have taken a department of 15 employees just 5 years ago. The arbitrage isn't between you and other people anymore. It's between you and machines that work 24 hours a day, never ask for a raise, and never get tired. Here's the part most people miss. The rich don't try to save minutes. Buying a $5 productivity app to save 20 minutes a day is a rounding error. They think in volume. They buy hours wholesale, from people, from machines, from algorithms, and sell the finished result one piece at a time at retail price. A real estate investor doesn't personally fix a leaky faucet to save money. He pays a plumber $80, then rents that property out for the next 10 years. That $80 wasn't an expense. It was a multiplier. And here's the twist that ties this whole video together. Skill 5 doesn't work without the other 4. You need asymmetry to know which bets are even worth scaling. You need boring monopolies to find a business stable enough to multiply in the first place. You need stacked skills to manage the system you're building. And you need to capture value, not just create it, or every hour you buy will simply make someone else richer instead of you. Stack all 5 together, and that's the actual formula. Not a hustle culture slogan, not a rise and grind quote, but a real, repeatable structure that turns an ordinary person into someone who builds wealth while everyone else is still just trading hours for a paycheck. So here they are: asymmetry, boring monopolies, stacking mediocrity, capturing value, and time arbitrage. None of them are secret. None of them require a finance degree. They just require you to think differently than 99% of people around you. If this gave you even one new way to look at money, do me a favor, smash that like button, drop a comment with which skill hit you the hardest, and subscribe if you're not already, because next week I'm breaking down the exact mistakes that keep smart, hardworking people broke for life. You won't want to miss it. I'll see you in the next one.